All right. Welcome to the next episode of the Kentucky Elk Hunting webinar series. Uh, John is still out, so I'm going to do my best to try to host this episode as well. Today's episode's just a little bit different. It kind of stems from a bunch of questions that I've received from you guys regarding gear and what to take with you while you're on your Kentucky elk hunt. So today we're going to kind of do an elk hunting must-haves, like things that we personally take with us. It's this list is by no means all inclusive, and we're not I should say we're not advocating for any one product or the other. It's just what we personally use, and this list come from all of our program staff who elk hunt. We're going to be kind of I don't have all of my stuff, but I do have quite a bit with me just to show you guys some examples, because I've gotten a lot of questions about it. So that's what we're going to do. With me today is our newest elk biologist, Mark Peterson. Mark comes to us from South Carolina, and he's got a whole lot of experience with elk management, and we're really excited to have him with us. And he's going to help me run this one today. So Mark, if you've got a second, please introduce yourself.
All right. Yeah, I'm Mark Peterson. As Joe mentioned, I just did come from South Dakota, the Black Hills, Rapid City areas where I was stationed there as a wildlife biologist. Worked on elk, bighorn sheep, mountain goats, whitetail, mule deer, sage grouse, different bird species there. Originally from Pennsylvania, I worked on whitetail deer studies in Pennsylvania and South Carolina, and also worked on various other species as a temporary, and landed here in Kentucky as the elk biologist for this current experience. And then it was lucky enough to harvest a couple of cow elk when I was in South Dakota, just looking forward to sharing some gear must-haves for hunters that are successfully drawn this year.
All right, thank you. So we're really excited to have Mark. Looking forward to his contributions to Kentucky elk management. He brings a lot to the table and some different things that we think will be very useful. So I guess let's go ahead and get started. Mark's going to kind of help me keep track while I'm going back and forth grabbing stuff. What's the first thing we're going to talk about is boots, right?
Yep, the first thing we're going to talk about is boots. Okay. A very, very important piece of equipment for comfort's sake. So definitely want to have full leather boots, waterproof, at least 6 inches in height, drop down heel, full wrap, and Joe will go over some of those features of the boot he has in his hand here.
Yeah, so just so you guys can see, this is what I use, just so you can kind of understand what we're talking about. I mean, we mentioned some of it in episode 5, and a lot of people have asked me questions like, what do you mean by this or that? So this is mine. It's a Crispy Dakota. Again, the brand doesn't really matter. It's just what fits my foot the best. But it's more of a mountaineering style boot. It's very firm, full leather. This wrap here, if you can see this black around it, this is what we're talking about when we talk about a wrap. It just kind of helps keep the boot from getting beat up too bad, and helps with the waterproofing and life of the boot. It's got a pretty aggressive heel like we're talking about here, and it's waterproof. I personally don't use insulated boots because I'm a big dude and I don't really get cold that much. I'm generally moving a lot, so this is kind of what we're talking about. Any type of boot like this will work. We're just trying to let you guys just see an example. We don't think that you don't have to go and get exactly what we're getting again, but the one thing that we really want to highlight is please don't bring your rubber boots, your muck style boots, if you're hiking or doing like a stalking or a still hunting type of hunting in Kentucky. It's just really going to beat you up pretty bad. And that's our boot example. To kind of go along with the boots, we were mentioning gaiters. A lot of people didn't know what they were exactly. They're a little bit different. This is what I use. So this actually goes under the heel of your boot and will latch around the front, and it basically covers you up to your calves. This is really good for keeping bugs or debris out of your boots. Those are waterproof, so you can cross like small creeks in them. keeps the dew off your legs. But that's kind of what I run for footwear. Everybody has a different boot, but we all are pretty well in agreement that the gaiters are the way to go. All right, what do we have? What's next? We have a bag next.
Yeah, backpacks next, and then on the boots front there, I just like throw in there. I'd highly recommend getting the type of mountaineering boots just for ankle support on the terrain here in Kentucky and in Eastern Kentucky. At least it is much different than Western Kentucky. So for just side hilling, walking in rocks, make sure the boots are sturdy. So and then another thing would go on with boots, maybe socks too. Don't wear cotton socks. They get drenched, you're going to start getting blisters on your feet. And also boots definitely do not come with a pair of brand new boots. Make sure you break them in a month before at least. Wear them around, make sure that they're broken in so you're not getting blisters and ruining your hunting experience by having blisters on your feet. It's not an enjoyable experience, and you're trying to hike around looking for elk. So get some type of synthetic moisture wicking socks. And then, as Joe mentioned, we'll go over the backpack now. Many different features in backpacks, many different types, up to you for personal preference on there. I think we're going to go over some things to think about for your backpack.
Yeah. So after we kind of discussed those in that previous episode, I've got a lot of questions from people. Like, what did you mean by this? What do you mean by that? So I'll just kind of show you mine. Mine is by no means like the super top of the line. This is a store brand. It's an internal frame pack, which means the frame's kind of inside the body, like we talked about. It's good and sturdy. And mine has this different loading shelf. So the actual bag is here, and you can cinch it all in. Right, so everything's tight. You can use this to day pack or whatever you want. But I have this meat shelf that's on the inside here, so you can actually unstrap the main pack, and it's got the compartment down here, and you can store all your meat in here when you're packing it out. Just if people were asking me questions about what we meant by this stuff, but mine, I've used it for I think 3 years now, 4 years. We've packed out, I don't know, 4 or 5 bull elk with it. And really it's cost maybe $200. So, you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money, but it is something that you need to have with you. And we were talking about earlier, day pack or big pack, whatever you want to do. Mine, it really doesn't weigh a whole lot. So I use this to like take all my stuff in, but it's also like my day hunting pack because it's kind of small anyway. I can fit all my gear in here that I need. And like I said, the important part is to make sure you can take out meat when you're there on your first load out. You don't want to have to get there and get it all cut up and then walk all the way back to the truck or camp or wherever to get your frame pack. At least try to have something that you can take meat out with on the first time. And this is a good option. This external little shelf here, again, you stow your meat in here, you strap it all down tight, it keeps it tight to your body, and it's all kind of separate to its side, so you're not getting the contents of your bag like super bloody or muddy or anything like that. But yeah, this is what I use. It's a general that's a computer bag too. It's a general store brand, 4,800 cubic inches. It's at about $200, and it served me very, very well.
Yeah, on the backpacks, I mean, you can obviously go a little smaller too on having a day pack with being able to make sure that you can get that meat on the first load, but then you could switch to, I think a lot of people just use a simple pack frame with a meat shelf on it for the other loads that are going to come out. Elk quarters are very heavy, especially bull elk quarters, very heavy. So try to cut as much weight as you can on other trips going back and forth to get the quarters out of the forest there.
That's
also, good. As Joe mentioned, with blood on the packs, I've personally been told that hydrogen peroxide works really well to get blood off from fabric, and I use it a lot. And also, if your pack does get pretty bloody from quarters, simply just soak it in a tub full of cold water overnight, preferably. And surprisingly, all the blood comes out of that, and it's no longer stained. I've done it a few times with my personal pack. I personally like to use the same type of pack that Joe uses, with the meat hauler in between the frame and the backpack there. Just keeps it really close to your back. Doesn't shift around as much, I feel, with that weight when you're trying to go on the sides of hills and rocky terrain there. Just I feel like it's a lot more stable, but it's personal preference for folks. Just go to the store, test out different ones, see how they feel for your comfort level.
Yep. And just like your boots, you know, you don't have to break in a pack, but you know, when we're talking about doing your weighted walking or whatever you're going to do to help you prepare, like that pack, the one I take hunting with me, that's what I practice with. So I told you guys I use paver sand because you know, it's very similar to like the way that a elk quarter feels. You know, there's nothing quite like simulating, like, you know, strapping down meat, and but that paver sand works well. But you know, make sure you use your backpack to practice with. All right. So what do we have? What's our next one, Mark?
So next on the list is a very important piece of equipment is license and permit. Definitely want to have that. I personally, as soon as I get them in the mail or can print them out or whatever, I just put them in my pack so I know that they're there. Don't have to think about it as much. Just make sure make sure that you have that license and permit when the time arises, when you have a successful harvest down on the ground.
So yeah, that's a good point. So what we and we kind of touched on this the other day when we spoke with the law enforcement officers. But what I do, I put all my stuff in a Ziploc bag so it's nice and waterproof. You know, like here in Kentucky, you want your hunting license, your permit, you know, all your applicable paperwork, your orange card. You want all that stuff with you. This is kind of what I took with me to Colorado. You know, it's got my elk license in here. It's got I keep a writing utensil, always a Sharpie, just because it's, you know, not going to run off or leak. And then you know, in Kentucky, like we've talked about before, if that animal ever leaves your possession, you have to record all the information on it. So like I said, if you're hunting with an outfitter or a friend or whatever it is, like say the guy's going to take it to the processor for you, I always keep a little piece of paper in here. You have to record all of that information, your harvest log information, your confirmation number, all that stuff, and affix it to the animal once it leaves your possession. So I always keep all this stuff in here with me. I keep it in a Ziploc bag just so I don't want it to get you know, rained on or muddy or bloody or whatever it is. And I always keep it at the top of my pack so it's super readily accessible. Make that checking process as easy as it can be for you and the warden who's meeting you in the field.
Yeah, I do. I personally do the same thing. I just use a Ziploc bag, super cheap way to make sure that all your paper stays dry if it rains, which is probably a common occurrence. It's going to happen. So, and also Joe may want to touch on some of the citizen science materials that'll be sent to you to keep that with you in your pack to help collect vital data for elk management in Kentucky.
Yes, thank you so much. I would have forgot about it. So you all haven't received them yet, but probably middle of August, late August. We do a fair amount of citizen science here in Kentucky. We want you guys, our hunters, to help us in managing the elk herd when we're able to do so. For all hunters, you're going to receive a little data sheet that will allow you to tell us like where you killed the animal, what unit, things like this, and an envelope to pull out a tooth for us. So we ask you to submit a tooth for us so we can get age at harvest data. It's a really important part of our modeling, our estimating our elk population. You need to know how many, you know, how old the animals are when you kill them, and that helps us with our stuff. So we'll send that to you. We also ask, we're going to ask you guys for a liver sample. We're trying to generate some baseline metrics for various nutrients, so we can kind of understand when we you know, look at a sick animal or a healthy animal and we're taking samples. You know, it'll help us kind of figure out what's going on there, if the values are normal or not. Interestingly, as long as we've been doing elk management in the U.S., we don't really have a good reference range for some of these things for elk. So that's kind of what we're trying to get from you all. And then all of our cow hunters, I'm going to send you all a data sheet with a 2-scale measurement on the back of it, a ruler, and instructions, so that if you are successful and you do kill a cow, you can go ahead and record some fetal information for us. So basically, we'll set the fetus on this data sheet that I'll give you. Give me a measurement, and we can backdate that and figure out when that animal was bred, when that cow was bred, which kind of helps us understand like our peak rut timing, our rut synchronization, and that's important for us. Obviously you want a good tight synchronous rut, but it also helps us with our season structures. If we see that rut may be shifting one way or another, you can make different changes, but we always try to structure at least our bull archery, or our either sex archery and our bull firearm seasons around the peak rut. So that's all really good information for us. And yeah, that Ziploc bag with all your license stuff on the top of your pack, that's a perfect place to put all your citizen science material. And we really rely on it a lot, and we thank you guys for all the help that you give us with that.
All right, and the next thing on the list, after successful harvest, would like to have a field dressing kit, also known as a kill kit, with any type of equipment that you will need to field dress an elk. I will say an elk is much different than a whitetail for field dressing. You're looking at 400, 700 pound animal with hide that is much thicker than whitetail hide is. So really got to make sure that you have knives that are sharp to really efficiently take care of field dressing an elk, because it is much different than a whitetail. I will say that from experience, that it is a much larger animal to try to handle with field dressing.
Yes, 100% agree. So I showed you guys my pack, and everybody will do stuff a little bit differently. But me, I try to stay really organized. I don't like, when I need something, I don't like digging through my pack and can't find it. So I keep all my stuff in these little compression bags to the extent that I can. And I'll show you a couple of them. But this one is my kill bag that I just keep in my backpack, so I always know where all the stuff I need is. And this, this doesn't have everything I think on our list, but I will go through and show you some of the things that I keep in mind. I always keep a big heavy duty contractor bag. Sometimes it's nice, when you're quartering the animal out or whatever, to you can cut this and lay it out flat, let the quarter sit on there while you're continuing to work, or like the organs or back straps, anything like that. You can just stretch it out there. It gives you a good surface to lay stuff on, keep it out of the mud and dirt and stuff. I keep a lot of latex gloves with me. I've heard Gabe say it a lot before, you're not too tough to wear gloves. Don't think you got to get all bloody. I mean, it's a good idea to keep some of these on you just at all times to kind of help be another little barrier for you. Some of our people use calving gloves or artificial insemination gloves, that kind of go up to here. I don't generally use those because I don't normally completely gut all of the animals I use. So these work better for me, but it's an option, and they do help you. I always keep just some random extra Ziploc bags in here, some galloners, just to put, sometimes I'll harvest the heart if it's not damaged, or some of the other organs for consumption, or it's just good to have them. You never know what you'll use them for. I always have several feet of paracord. When the elk are big, especially if you're doing it like one person or two people, you can attach that to a leg into a tree or something to kind of help it keep from sliding down the hill. As you get a new quarter and you're putting them in your game bags, you can hang it up in a tree to elevate it to get it cooling down a little bit better. Some some people like Dan Crank, one of our other elk biologists, he'll keep, heavy duty rope with him in case you're in a place that's accessible. So where you can like drag the animal out of the field with a vehicle or something, but at least have some type of cordage, paracord, something like that. I guarantee you'll find a use for it. I keep a little bone saw if I want to, saw off the forearms or forelimbs of the quarters, or if you do prefer, you want to gut the entire animal. Elk are, like I said, a lot bigger than whitetail. It's kind of hard to reach up through the chest cavity to get everything out of there. So I keep a little bone saw with me that it can help you split the sternum or joints or whatever it is. Depending on where you are, where you're hunting, sometimes I'll take a different type of saw with me. Not everybody's as comfortable with it, but I do most of my caping of animals in the field. So I can reduce the weight of taking out, the head and the big section and neck if you skull cap it in the field, and you've already caped your hide out. So that might be something you want. It just depends on your level of comfort. Let's see what else I got in here. I've got some flagging tape, a roll of flagging tape. It doesn't cost anything. It weighs even less. Like we mentioned some in the law enforcement episode, and we'll talk about in the future, when you're game trailing these animals in strip mines or anywhere, it's pretty challenging, and it's nice to have that to help you mark your trail and your spot along the way. Or, say you've been successful and you've taken the first load of meat out, you can kind of flag stuff as you go just to make your navigation to and from the vehicle easier. In terms of knives, so I've got a couple different options in here. Mark said that they're very tough animals to hide, especially it will dull a blade very quickly. So I have this one. I got this from Army F, just as a thank you for being a member, I guess. But it's a replaceable blade knife. It comes with different blades, so I've always got a fresh sharp one with me. If you're going to take it out there, just make sure you've got several with you. But it's really, really important to have sharp knives. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Until you've done it, you won't know how tough a hide is, and they will dull a knife flat quick. So if you have that, it'll reduce the need for you, taking a sharpener, taking multiple knives. You can keep your weight down. Just make sure you have extra blades. Another thing, this is a little scalpel blade handle. I pulled the blades out of the bag already, but they make these little what's that brand, Mark? The little replaceable
Havilon.
Yeah, Havilon.
Yep.
They make these little scalpel blades. It's the same concept as the bigger knife, but it's for a scalpel. I just use the regular scalpel handle and blades if I'm doing little fine work. But again, super lightweight. Always got something sharp, and then I always keep a bigger fixed blade knife with me, just for a little heavier duty work, getting around joints. It'll pop in the hip socket joints, actually carving meat. Just always have a little bigger fixed blade knife with me. Let's see the next thing.
And yeah, on the knives too. I mean, I use the Havilon scalpel type thing. I think Outdoor Edge has one now. I think more and more companies are coming out with those scalpels, replaceable scalpel blades. They're very handy knife to have, especially when you're skinning that hide back there. They just zip right through the membrane there between the cavity and the hide there. They zip right through that really, really quickly. And then if the blade gets dull, just pop them off. There's even ones now that they've upgraded them, so there's a little button, I think, that you pop the blade off. That's one thing I don't particularly like about the one I have. You really risk cutting your finger when you're trying to get those blades off. You got bloody fingers, they're wet. So try to think about that, maybe, that the ones that have the little button that just pop the blade up so you can just pull it right off on that, and to make it a little safer for yourself, so you're not cutting yourself when you're out trying to field dress. And then another thing, game bags are super handy to have. Some of them, they have like antimicrobial on them to just prevent that, especially here in Kentucky. It could be pretty warm during those rifle seasons and archery seasons. And I personally just use pillowcases. King size pillowcases is what I was told was a good cheap alternative to buying game bags, because they do get kind of expensive, and the pillowcase is reusable. Same deal as the pack. I'm able to just soak it in a tub full of cold water, get most of the blood out, and then just throw it in the washing machine, and then they're good to go again. I think Joe's got some game bags there.
Yes, I've got, I actually spent a little bit of money. I mean, this is an elk set. It comes with 4-quarter bags and another bag that you can either use for the head or organs, back straps, tenderloins, whatever you want. These ones, they're pretty good quality. I like them. They're really tough, and you can use them over and over again. I've used these for several elk. I've used them for deer, antelope, all kind of stuff, and I think I paid like $60 for them. But it's very important, especially in Kentucky, especially in the early seasons, to have something. Whatever you choose, cheesecloth, pillowcases, real game bags, whatever it is, to protect that meat. We're in a hot, humid environment. There are a lot of bugs. If you don't protect it as you're hanging it or packing it out, you're probably going to get some type of meat loss. You might get flies laying eggs on them. I mean, I've seen people handle them a lot of different ways, and it's just not worth the risk, man. Make sure you have a game bag. Please do not make the mistake of bringing trash bags to think you can hold your meat in. That's just going to suck that heat in, and you're going to get some spoilage. So just spend a little bit of money, or grab pillowcases, whatever you want to do, whatever works good for you, and get some game bags. So these ones, yeah, not very expensive. I do like them. They're tough. They've got this reflective coating on here, so if you're making trips at night, you shine your flashlight, you can always see them. Like I said, with that paracord, as I load a quarter in here, I'll hang it from the tree, get it off the ground so the wind can move through and get it cooling down. But yeah, those are just some basic things that I keep in my kill kit. Like I said, I personally find it's very easy to just keep everything in a little compression bag, so you've always got it in one place and you know where it is.
Yeah, back to the bone saw too. Make sure that you consider getting. They do make deer and elk ones. It looked like Joe had an elk one there. The deer ones obviously are a lot shorter. And the bones are a lot bigger on elk trying to cut it, so you're going to be zipping back and forth many more times if you just got a deer size one versus an elk size one. I think they're probably 2 or 3 times longer, the elk bone saws, compared to the deer saws. So make sure you consider what species that you're buying equipment for. You might have to add some equipment to your bag for ease of processing an elk.
Yeah, and we're not saying go ahead and spend all this money. You don't have to have all this stuff. We're showing you what we have, and all the stuff I have, I've acquired over a number of years. I buy a little bit here and there, but the good thing is, it's all multi-purpose. I can use it for something else. So what are we on to next, Mark?
Next thing, water purification system. It's
Okay.
definitely a very key item to have. Water is definitely a key element for probably doing a lot of hiking. Weather could be hot, so cut down on weight maybe if you don't want to have so much water carrying it. Back and carrying a lot of water in your pack. You get an emergency situation. Also may want to have some extra water there, but yeah, definitely consider some type of water storage system.
Is this my oh crap kit section?
What?
Are we at the oh crap kit section?
Nope, water purification system.
So yeah, Kentucky, we have a ton of water. However, until you're out here hiking and moving, like Gary told you, I mean, it's really important to be hydrated. By no means do you have to have it. I mean, you can, my backpack's got a bladder pack in it. I usually carry water bottles too, but when you get out there and really start exerting yourself, I mean, you're going to need more. There's water in about every one of these hollers, creeks, seepage is something, but it's just a nice thing to have. Again, it's your personal preference. So what I use is this little Sawyer squeeze. It's really lightweight. It's cheap. I think it was like $25, and I can't remember how many gallons of water it will purify. I've personally used this a lot in Kentucky and in out west when I'm hunting. You just kind of attach it. It comes with these little bags. You just attach it to here and squeeze it through into your water bottle, your bladder pack. And there's umpteen million different ways to do this type of stuff, but this is just the option I picked. I said it's like 25, 30 bucks. You can get them at Walmart, any sporting goods store. It's a really nice thing to have. I mean, you just don't want to run out of water. It's just not something that you want to do. Here's I'll show you guys. Here's the little bags that it comes with, just a standard kit. You just fill this up in a creek or whatever, screw it on here, and then squirt it into your water bottle. Really easy.
And I'll say the bladder packs there, it's probably more pertinent to late season cow hunters with potential freezing weather. Consider that if it's below freezing, that water will most likely freeze in the line going from the bladder up over your shoulder. So maybe something to think about there if you're going to be doing late season hunting, and it could be below freezing in some parts, especially in the elk zone. There it gets a little chillier, I believe. So something to consider, that if your bladder may freeze, and then you're trying to drink out of that big opening in a bladder, is probably not an ideal situation. The Nalgene's kind of spread it out a little bit more, could freeze those too, but depending on how cold it gets. But yeah, just consider temperatures and freezing water when you're thinking about water systems.
Yeah, and part of the reason I take this is just because I don't want to load my backpack full of gallons and gallons of water. I mean, I think each gallon is like 8 pounds. I mean, it gets pretty heavy. So again, use what system works for you. We just think that's something you should have. What do we have next, Mark?
Next on the list is binos and chest harness. Elk hunting involves a lot of glassing from high points and cover. Just very nice to have your binos and all the general equipment that you need in a chest harness here. That Joe's got his set up here to kind of go through that a little bit.
So yeah, glassing, you can do it. You might find a place that depends on the property. I mean, a lot of our terrain's pretty timbered, or it's kind of grown up. Give me a minute to adjust this. It's still I might have gained a few pounds since turkey season. But I'm a big fan of having binoculars on me all the time. When I'm hunting, I just find them very, very handy. And I like to personally use a chest strap, something like this. It keeps it nice and tight to my body. It's not wiggling around. I mean, you get those just the general elastic ones, and if you're trying to crawl or move, I mean, they're always hanging and flopping. This will keep it nice and tight. Let's see here. Keep it nice and tight, and I can keep all my stuff really that I need hands right here. So what I keep in mind, obviously, my binoculars. I keep those in here. I always have a wind checker in mind. It's you live and die by the wind. Elk, just like whitetails, they can smell very, very well. But in eastern Kentucky, the wind, the thermals, nothing's very consistent for very long. And even if you don't feel a wind, there's probably some ambient thing, whether it's thermals up and down, something. So it's just nice to have this. It's just takes one less thing out of the equation, right? You're not trying to guess the wind. You're not picking up leaves or whatever and throwing it. This one, I bought this bottle, it was like $2 or $3, and like Mark does the same thing. We fill it with baking soda, just something scent free, just to give you a little visual indicator. The next thing I always keep in mind is a rangefinder. Whether or not you're archery hunting, firearm hunting, whatever, it's a very important thing to have. Keep a rangefinder with you. I mean, mine has a little pocket for it, and you'll see that I've got it affixed to my harness. Okay. I try to tie most of this stuff down to my backpack one way or another. If you're out here, you got an elk here, okay, he's 30 yards. I want to be able to like drop it and let it hang. I'm not going to lose it. It's not going to get caught in brush, but when I go to make my shot, I figure out the range and I can let it go and hang. I'm not going to lose it. See, it's just stuck to me. That's just something I learned the hard way when I lost a couple things, but it's, I always keep my rangefinder in here with me right there next to me. And then, all these different harnesses are different. Mine here is a pretty cheap one. I think it's like $40 or something. It's not very expensive, and you can get them. I mean, they can get crazy, but I also, this one has a little bag in the back of it. You can store, I mean, it's another place to put your license or whatever. I usually keep my calls or something in here just so they're always close to me. But I highly recommend this. I can put this on with my general backpack, and it's not in the way. I'm hands free. I'm not digging for binoculars or whatever it is. I got all the stuff that I immediately need right here and ready. And again, you most people already have binoculars. And these things aren't that expensive, but I definitely recommend them. You have something like this, Mark?
Yeah, I've got the same thing. A lot of, I know if you buy binoculars within the last 2 or 3 years, like probably some companies, I know Vortex, as Joe has there, mine came with the harness in the package already. They include that with it now. So, and as Joe said, they're inexpensive. I think they're like $40 for that one. You can just go buy them online. Very handy to have, as he mentioned. Yeah, it just keeps your binoculars from dangling down, especially if you're in stalking on an elk. Don't want those binoculars dragging on the ground, hitting on stuff, getting caught up there. Another good thing to put in there is extra release, extra ammo, depending on which weapon you're using, just so you're not trying to dig through your pockets, your bag. If you happen to drop your release, if it's not one that attaches, just so you have that equipment that's very vital, very within reasonable, be able to just reach right up, grab whatever you need out of there, so you can easily have that. And as Joe mentioned, I just got a little travel size lotion bottle and put baking soda in it for cheap. And as he mentioned, that bottle he got was really cheap too. And yeah, the thermals definitely very important to keep checking your wind, especially if you're stalking in on elk. Don't want to blow that chance at a trophy of a lifetime, basically, because the wind shifts on you. So just always be aware of that wind direction when you're working around elk.
All right.
And the next thing is GPS or mapping system. Definitely want to have maps, GPS, some type of way, especially if you're on these regulated areas, public areas. Make sure you're not trespassing, hunting in areas where you're not supposed to be. Boundaries are not very well marked for the most part out here, from what I can see so far. I've only been out here since the beginning of May, but definitely very important for you to know where you're at. And I suspect probably in the law enforcement video, they went over a lot of this trespassing issues that come up in anywhere you're at. Definitely want to know where you're at and make sure that you're not trespassing.
All righty. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Know where you guys are. The burden's on the hunter to know where you are.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely many different things on X. I think it's been mentioned in a lot of videos that it's very helpful. I know in the last draw reminder video there that yeah, there is a lot of those areas are on there. It works if you download the maps when you got service somewhere. You can do offline maps, so you don't have to worry about not having service, because service is very spotty in Eastern Kentucky. You don't have service a lot of times, so definitely key to have a GPS, something. Don't rely on needing to have some type of cell reception for things. And if you have GPS, make sure you have extra batteries for it. Just so you know where you're at, and being helpful in that situation, just so you know where you're at.
Yep. And I will just, we should say it, we've said it before, but the department does have ArcGIS online that you can get an application for your phone. It's on your desktop, but it has all the property boundaries as well. All right, what do we have on our list, Mark?
So next thing's survival emergency, kind of an oh crap kit, as Joe wrote kit in here. So yeah, just basically survival, emergency, something happens, you cut your finger, your vehicle, get a flat tire, get lost, have to spend a night or two out in the forest there. Just make sure you have some survival or emergency items that would be helpful, just to help you get through the situation.
So you can get these at most sporting goods stores, Amazon, whatever. There's these small, basic little first aid kits. I carry one of these. It comes with about everything that you need. One thing that it does not come with that I think is very important, I learned from a podcast and some of my own experiences. They're not very expensive. This is little blood clot powder, and you can see the Hulk there for Riggs is doing he's for some reason the model for this one, but these aren't very expensive, but it's something that's very, very important to have with you. If you there was a famous podcast out not long ago, a famous professional hunter put a put a broadhead through his leg while he was hunting, and you never know what's going to happen. But just something like this that will cover most of your bases with some blood clot powder. You can buy cheap little tourniquet kits if you want. I mean, the terrain's rugged, it's steep. You just never know what's going to happen. But it has all your basic little medicine. You know, because it weighs nothing. I have a little emergency space blanket. I mean, probably I'm never going to use it, but you never know. If you have to spend an emergency night out there, it can make a makeshift little warm blanket, makeshift signal. I always keep a couple extra light sources in mine. I cannot stand when my batteries die and I don't have one or I lose it, you know. So I always keep a couple extras. We're all technology right now, but I keep just a small little compass with me. It's got, you know, serves multiple purposes and functions. You can signal with it and stuff, but you know, at least you've got something here. And then I don't have it all with me, but I always keep a small pill bottle like this that just has different things that you might need. I mean, I keep Pepto, Modium, Tylenol, you name it, whatever it is in here. You know, you don't want to get into something nasty and not have something with you. You don't want to be running to a tree all day when you're trying to elk hunt. And then I always have some type of fire source. Here's a little waterproof match set. It's like $4 or $5 that I keep with me. You can store other stuff in it when it's done, or you can just use, you know, have just a little lighter. One thing I don't have in here, I took it out and put it in a different bag. I usually keep some duct tape or something with me, or zip ties. You can take a bunch of duct tape and, you know, on a full size lighter, wrap it around here and just, you know, have enough to do what you need. But just basic stuff like this, I think is always a good idea to have. And I said, you never know when you're going to need to handle a wound or you get to not feeling well or whatever it may be. And, you know, you can put some extra batteries in here, whatever really that you want. But, you know, again, I keep all my stuff, again, in little compression bags. And another thing that, again, up to you all, depending on you know, where you hunt or how far you're going to be from a road or whatever, but I always keep my little cook stove with me. Mine's just a little jet bowl. You know, you can have a nice little fire, boil water. You know, you don't have a purification set or make coffee or whatever it is, but I always keep one of these with me. I end up using it more than I ever think I will, and I always have some extra food. I mean, these are these little dehydrated meals. You know, you can boil a little bit of water, put them in here. They don't weigh anything, but you know, just kind of like extra water, a water source is just something that you want to have with you, or at least I personally think you do, just in case. All right.
Definitely want to have rain gear. Rain gear is a key thing here. A lot of rain here, so definitely try to keep yourself dry. Also, a lot of the pack, getting back to the packs there. A lot of packs nowadays have a waterproof sleeve that comes out of the bottom of the packs and goes up over the top so it keeps a lot of the water out. So you don't have to deal that, or a lot of them, they just, I know my pack, I just bought it. It was like, I don't know, $10, $20. I don't remember what it was, but just a piece of fabric that goes over the bag just to keep that dry and keep all your stuff dry in there. And Joe mentioned running the tree. I personally keep a roll of toilet paper, partial roll of toilet paper in a Ziploc bag, so it's always dry. Don't really want a wet roll of toilet paper trying to use it or getting in your pack and making a mess in there. So definitely do something to try to keep that dry. And then on the first aid kit, definitely want to have moleskin in there too, just in case you do get blisters there, to give you cushioning between that blister and your hiking boots, so you can keep hunting hopefully with that protective layer there between the blister and the boots there. So I'm not sure if you want to go over that vehicle emergency items too. Just want to make sure you have tire plugs, electric air pump. There's a lot of rocks out here, a lot of sharp rocks, especially if you don't have all-terrain type tires on your vehicle. Could puncture them pretty easily. So make sure your spare tires up to working standards. I know a lot of us just take it for granted that they're always on the vehicle there, but yeah, just maybe maybe a good idea to just double check that spare tire's there and it's good condition. Toolkit, jumper cables, tow strap maybe even would be something to have. That could even be, if you need to, just to hook it onto the leg of an elk to drag it uphill with the tow strap, kind of like Joe mentioned with Dan having the cord there. Extra gas can may be handy, just in case you need some fuel. Yeah, just have a little bit of an emergency kit in your vehicle just in case you need it.
Yep, of course. It's one thing I don't know if you mentioned. I keep a little mobile air compressor. You just plug it into your cigarette lighter and it'll pump up a tire pretty quick. Doesn't cost anything. I keep it in the truck all the time. You never know when you're going to need it. I don't think we mentioned it. Bug spray or Thermacell if you want it. But
Yeah.
definitely I would try to use bug spray, maybe permethrin or something on my clothes on the early season. We do have quite a few ticks in East Kentucky, and some of them do have Lyme or Rocky Mountain spotted fever or maybe some other stuff. I'm not 100% sure what all is there, but I do know that some of these ticks do have Lyme or Rocky Mountain or alpha-gal. So anyway, it's just always a good idea when you're outside to at least think about something like that. Try to take those precautions. So what are we?
Yeah, definitely the bug spray. Yeah, keep those ticks at bay. Make sure you inspect yourself for ticks. Make sure they don't attach to you. Try to keep them off from you.
All right. What's our next thing, Mark?
Next thing is just some general elk hunter comfort items. Just some extra items to think about for glassing, just sitting. I think Joe's got some stuff there for that. And,
Yeah.
trekking poles, just to be able to walk. I know Joe, I don't personally use them, but I'm pretty sure Joe uses them and knows the advantages of trekking poles, especially the terrain here and some other items here to think about.
So yeah, just some comfort stuff. It's like a little camping pillow. It's like an ounce, and you can blow it up. You can sit on this thing. You can put your knees on it. When you're skinning elk, if you're in like rocky stuff, I mean, it doesn't weigh anything. It's a pretty comfy little thing. Maybe you just want to take a nap in the middle of the day on the ridge top, but it doesn't weigh anything. I keep a little tarp with me. This thing, it's like 2 or 3 ounces, something like that, but it's like a 6x8 tarp that you can make a makeshift shelter out of. If it's a real hot day, you can stretch it out, make yourself a nice little awning. Kind of with a trash bag, you can lay it out there, put all your quarters or something on it. You might even be able to, if it's snowy or whatever, to use it to drag animals. But it's just something it doesn't weigh anything, it doesn't take up much space in my pack. I keep it with me, and I end up using it fairly often. What else do we have here? Oh, the trekking poles. Yeah, I didn't bring mine up here today, but I've got a cheap pair. I don't use them when I'm just like walking around hunting or whatever. But when I come back, when I'm making trips with meat, it definitely does help you. You try best with your backpack and whatnot to be stable, but it really does just help with that weight distribution. It helps you keep your balance a little bit, and it's really personal preference. It's up to you, but you don't have to spend a bunch of money on them if you want them. I think mine were like, I don't know, $30 a set or something. They're like an off brand. You can get them at some of the sporting goods stores or like chain stores like Costco or Sam's. But I do think they're handy. But again, it's just a comfort item, just something that might help you out.
And then back the roll of flagging tape where I mentioned that. I like using it for blood trails. Really helpful to just be able to see the path, and maybe if you lose track of it, be able to double back and see if the elk double back on you, marking your trail. Many uses for flagging tape. And then Joe already mentioned his small cook stove to have just coffee, dehydrated food, some types of that. Also plenty of snacks for long days. Elk hunting usually can be very long days, when depending on the season, what's going on, what type of hunting you want to do. I personally don't like to have sugary types items, candy bars, just things full of sugar. Deal a lot with the sugar crashes, but I know a lot of people like to have the sugar. It's just kind of personal preference, but myself, I like the kind of the fat and proteins, just so you have a sustained sustained energy, just trail mix, jerkies, granola bars, apples, almonds, snacks like that, just to sustain your energy, especially if you, especially these elk get pressured and they you go find them in a hole 2 miles from your vehicle and you got to haul those quarters back. Definitely be handy to have, just have snacks just to make sure your energy's up, energy levels up, so you can get those out efficiently and as quick as possible to minimize meat loss and spoilage there. I know we mentioned it before, but I'm not sure we have, but I know there's after the kill, but femurs, elk hold a ton of heat in meat. So I know we're going to be doing an after the kill video that'll probably be brought up there, but just really key to be able to get those out as quickly as possible.
All right. What are we on to next, Mark?
Moving on to archery hunter needs. So some specific items to think about for the archery hunters that have drawn the archery tags.
So one thing, obviously we've mentioned it before, but keep an extra release with you. If I'm archery hunting, I'll keep with me in the field is this. It's a little archery tool. It has about everything that you need to fix, basic stuff. I've got hex wrenches, screwdrivers. It's got this little doodad here to put your broadheads on tight so you minimize the risk of cutting your fingers. But some type of hex wrench is just whatever. You never know if your sight or something might get loose or just something like that. But I always have something like this with me. At the vehicle, I generally keep, or camp, wherever, usually the vehicle, I'll generally keep some extra arrows, broadheads, things like that. I like to keep a target with me at the vehicle. If you're back there, might as well shoot. But definitely when you get down there, whether it's archery hunting, firearm hunting, anything, definitely check your weapon. Make sure that nothing happened in transit, didn't bump a sight or anything. But I always have that with me. Am I missing anything in that list?
Nope, just that. And I personally, I like to have, as you mentioned, your sight getting knocked around. I like to keep mine in a hard case. I know it takes up a lot of space, but I like to keep mine in a hard case. And bows are expensive with all the accessories on them, so definitely, I personally just like to protect mine. But yeah, it's just again personal preference. Hard case, soft case, no case. But yeah, as Joe mentioned, just make sure that target's there. Just make sure that sight hasn't been bumped or something's happened in transit there. Just always make sure your bow's in top-notch shape before you head out every day.
Yep. And next we have general firearms stuff?
Yep, just firearm elk hunter needs, things to consider.
Yeah, similarly, obviously have extra ammunition. Little toolkit, whether it's a hex set or screwdriver, whatever your firearm takes, in case you bump a scope or need to readjust something. When I'm firearm hunting, I always, because you have the hunter orange requirement in Kentucky, I generally always keep some extra with me. I might keep an extra hat or a jacket or something in my bag for just different reasons. But it's also, at the truck, I'll usually keep something. I mean, you never know what'll happen. You might lose something and you don't want to have to run to town to get it. So I always have a little more than I probably need. But what else? Do we have any? I think that's
gun cleaning kits. Gun cleaning kits handy to have. Full blown one for camp. Those bore snakes are super helpful to have too. Just really light. Put them in your pack, or just to always have that bore snake type equipment there. And any toolkit just to fix minor issues. Always handy to have. Just the screws come loose or something like that. And yeah, it's just some basic equipment to fix any minor issues that could arise, mainly with scope. And then yeah, if something does happen there, definitely make sure you go sight that rifle, and again, make sure that it's still zeroed, still dialed in, so you're taking ethical shots there. Just always make sure that the equipment's in top-notch shape again.
Yep, it's a good point. Thank you for for
Yep,
catching
and
mice.
extra ammo. Definitely, and keep in mind, like Dan mentioned, yeah, it gets expensive, and that's something I learned from that video. Try to get that ammo together. I know ammo's very, very hard to get right now, but try to keep those lot numbers consistent on there, just so you have consistent powder, consistent ammo in the box there, just to make sure. I know we're all in the same boat with ammo right now. It's a very hot commodity, very hard to get. So start thinking about that now.
Right.
And then some other things to consider. Coolers, very important to have coolers to, once you get those quarters back to the vehicle. Definitely want to be able to have that meat, especially in Kentucky with how warm it can get here. Want to be able to cool that meat down. Maybe consider spots where, think about where you can get ice before you harvest the animal, just so you can have that ice or some type of ice source to cool that quarter down.
Yep. Even if it's like freezing gallon jugs or milk jugs, something like that, that'll, stay for a long time. Just have something there to get it cooled off pretty quick. In terms of that type of stuff, if you're planning to take an animal to a meat processor or taxidermist, kind of have those in mind already, know where you're going to go, know what time they're going to be open. If maybe call them ahead of time, like say they're not open after 6 o'clock in the evening. Do they have a drop off policy? Is there some place you can put it? Just kind of have that stuff lined out.
Yeah, with the taxidermist, make sure that you talk to them how to properly skin an animal. If you're thinking about getting a mount done on that, definitely don't. You can probably fix some things, but major things it's very difficult to fix for taxidermists. So make sure you have it figured out how to take it to them whole, or if you're not comfortable doing it, just kind of think of those things before just envision having that successful harvest and making sure that you have everything in line, so you're not scrambling at the last second there trying to figure out all that vital information for your trophy of a lifetime there potentially. So, and then also leaving the state, if you're leaving the state, make sure that the laws of transporting heads, hides, meats across state lines. Chronic wasting disease now, there's many states are banning importation or of any spinal column, brain matter material on skulls. So definitely make sure that you're aware of any rules especially for non-resident hunters. Make sure that you're not illegally transporting potential tissue that's transmitting chronic wasting disease. It's a very important to consider that try to minimize the spread of that as much as possible. For general management, make sure that they're not transmitting that across state lines.
Yeah, it's a good point. Every state, we're kind of starting to make a uniformed push to see what's allowed, what's not. But like you said, we're all a little bit different. Like Kentucky, you're not even supposed to bring quarters home, like whole quarters with bones in them. You're supposed to have deboned meat. So just pay attention to that. I think that's almost all of our list. Two things that I can think right offhand that I forgot to mention earlier, whether it's a saw or shears. I just have this here with me. I usually use shears, but like little snips. I usually keep something like that with me. If you go to make a setup, especially with archery equipment, you might have some little branches here and there in the way, just to nip something, or if you're making a little ground blind or whatever, it's just handy to have. And the last thing I can think of right now in my pack that I didn't mention earlier, I keep a light pair of work gloves, leather work gloves with me. Just for, you never know, you're walking through nasty brush or whatever it may be, but I've used them more often than not when I have them with me, just in case, extra protection. But I think that's most of our list, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. And I feel like probably a lot of people, just hunters in general, you're going to have a lot of this equipment already in there. Just kind of a video to go through all the things to consider though. But as I mentioned before, just keep in mind that elk are a lot bigger than deer, so you may have to consider buying other gear that's a little larger to handle field dressing. Field dressing in elk is the main one there. You may have to beef up your field dressing equipment just a little bit there, but you'll be thankful that in the long run that you maybe spend a little extra money to consider getting that just for the ease of field dressing an elk versus a whitetail, just considering the massive difference between the two animals in size and weight. So, and just hide and bone structure, just stuff to consider there. But yeah, again, I think most hunters probably have a lot of this equipment already, and just other equipment to think about, just some extra optional equipment to think about while you're out in the elk hunting forest.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's you probably have a lot of it already, and what you don't have, I'm sure if you just get a little bit here and there, you'll find multiple uses for it. But like I said, we're by no means is this like a all-inclusive list, or does it, are we advocating for any certain products? And I'm sure there's things that we've forgotten, or things that some of you all use that maybe we forgot to mention or didn't know about. But so this was just a response to a lot of questions that we've gotten about what exactly you take with you. So there's a lot of good resources online too, in addition to what we're trying to provide here. You can see all kinds of people's gear lists. I mean, people get really into this type of stuff. So I would encourage you to look around and just try different things out, see what works for you, see what makes sense to you. And but hopefully this video will help you guys just with some basic stuff that we think that you need to take with you, or at least think about before going to the field. But it's about all I've got. I think John will be back for the next few videos, and as always, if you guys have questions or comments, I mean, feel free to talk to us, to contact us. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know if we're missing anything. If there's just any general questions that we can ask or we can answer for you guys. And the secondary unit drawing has been released now. So if you've not already done so, please get on your My Profile under the Elk Information tab and check that out. And remember to like and subscribe to the department's YouTube channel to get notified about all of these videos and all the other great content that the department puts out. But here's our contact information, like always, here at the end. And just give us a shout if you need anything. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mark, for joining me today.
No problem.